What if a billionaire father came home expecting a joyful reunion with his son, only to find the boy clinging desperately to a stranger, begging, "Don't take her away"? This is the powerful story of how one man learned that money can buy comfort, but only love can heal a child's heart. Richard Hale had just returned from weeks abroad. He walked into his mansion with confidence. Polished shoes, tailored suit, gold watch. But tied to his suitcase was a worn teddy bear, his son Ethan's favorite. He imagined Ethan running into his arms, laughter echoing through the halls. But instead of joy, Richard froze in the doorway of his own kitchen. There stood a young woman he didn't recognize, apron wrinkled, shoulders trembling, tears streaking her face. In her arms clung Ethan, cheeks blotchy, eyes red, holding her as if she were the only safe place in the world. "Daddy, no!" Ethan cried when Richard called his name. "Don't take her away." The woman turned, startled, and introduced herself. Naomi Brooks, the nanny the agency sent last month. Richard remembered approving her on the phone, but nothing prepared him for this. His son wasn't simply comfortable with her. He was holding on as if his life depended on it. Through tears, Naomi explained, he has nightmares every night. He calls for someone, anyone, and I'm the only one here. I sing to him until he can breathe again. Richard's chest caved. All those long hours at the office, all those business trips he'd told himself were for Ethan's future, had left his son crying in the dark, and in his absence, a stranger had become the only one Ethan trusted. Then Ethan's small voice broke through. "She helps me breathe, Daddy." Those words shattered Richard. He had built empires for his son, but what Ethan needed wasn't wealth. It was presence. It was love. Naomi tried to step back. "I'm not asking to stay," she whispered. "I never meant to replace anyone. But he wished I was his mommy." The words pierced Richard deeper than any boardroom insult ever could. Ethan clung harder to her apron, sobbing. Naomi looked Richard straight in the eye. "Money doesn't sing a child to sleep, Mr. Hale. It doesn't hold their hand after a nightmare." For the first time in years, Richard felt powerless. His son wasn't begging for toys or gifts. He was begging not to lose the only person who made him feel safe. Naomi soothed Ethan. "No one's mad at you, sweetheart." But her words were for Richard too. "I could never be angry at him," Richard said, his voice breaking. Then Naomi challenged him. "Show him. He's only 4. All he knows is that you leave and come back with gifts instead of hugs." The truth cut deep. Ethan didn't need proof of wealth. He needed proof of love. Richard bent down, arms open. "Ethan," he whispered. But the boy hesitated. Trust was fragile. Slowly, cautiously, Ethan peeled himself from Naomi's side. He didn't leap into Richard's arms. He melted into them, testing their warmth before finally surrendering. Richard held him tight, whispering through tears. "I'm so sorry, buddy. I didn't know how lonely you were." "Don't make her leave," Ethan whispered back. Richard looked at Naomi, then back at his son. His answer surprised even himself. "I don't want her to leave either." Naomi's breath caught. She had given her heart quietly, never expecting this. But Richard finally saw it. She hadn't just saved his son. She had saved him too, forcing him to face the cracks in his perfect facade and giving him the chance to rebuild with love. "Stay," Richard said softly, "not just as the nanny. Stay as someone who cares about him. Maybe even as someone who can help me become the father he deserves." Naomi hesitated, tears in her eyes. "I don't want to cross any lines." "Cross them," Richard said, "if that's what it takes for him to feel safe again." For the first time that night, Naomi smiled. Small, gentle, but real. Ethan's little hand clutched Richard's sleeve, his eyes shining with hope. Between them, the broken pieces of a family began to heal. Richard untied the teddy bear from his suitcase and handed it to Ethan. "I brought this for you," he whispered, "but I should have brought myself sooner." That night, Ethan fell asleep not crying, but safe in his father's arms. Later, Richard found Naomi in the kitchen cleaning up. This wasn't the job you expected, he said. No, she smiled faintly. But it's the job I needed. Richard nodded. Thank you for saving my son. True love isn't measured by the wealth we leave behind, but by the presence we give today. Children don't need empires. They need laughter, hugs, and someone who shows up when it matters most. What about you? Have you ever realized that the smallest acts of love mattered more than the biggest sacrifices? Share your story in the comments. And if this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more stories of love, redemption, and second chances.